So guys, this is a story time of how I moved to New York City with very little money. It all started when I graduated from the University of Alabama with my bachelor's degree in psychology. And I ended up getting a job working as a case manager for a mental health care clinic. I love that job. During the process of having that job, my mom and I decided to take a trip to New York. And while I was in New York, I was on the Ask Wendy segment. And one of the questions that I asked Wendy was, I'm 30 years old. Do you think it's time for me to leave the nest? And of course, she said yes. At that time, I started applying for jobs. I ended up getting an interview for a job in New York. I almost didn't get it because I missed the interview because Alabama is an hour behind New York. My phone ran hot during the actual interview, but to my surprise, I ended up getting the job. And at that point, that's when I started going hard with looking for apartments and things of that nature. So something that I use to find an apartment, I use renthop.com. And then something that I learned doing my research is that even though an apartment say that it's in Manhattan, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's in a safe neighborhood. So I had to make sure that I did my research. Also, something to keep in mind is that you have, at the time when I was looking for an apartment, you have to make at least 40 times the rent. So that means if you made $40,000 a year, you would divide it by 40 and that'll give you $1,000. So that's how much you could, that's how much they would allow you to get an apartment or get a room for. I actually decided to rent out a room. And when I did that, the room, I had to pay $9.75 for the deposit. I had to pay $9.75 for the broker fee, which is the person that you pay for helping you find the apartment, and $9.75 for the last month rent. And then that's how my neighborhood looked outside. And then this is kind of what the apartment looked like that I ended up putting the $9.75 down on. I do want to say that when I was looking at this apartment, it was still under construction. So that is the reason why it looked the way it looks. But getting this apartment was not easy because when I originally came to New York City, I had $2,500. I had a room for about 3 nights. And I had 3 suitcases with my belongings in it. When I had my first day of work at my new job, I had told my manager that I was living in a hotel. And she told me that I could actually stay on the property until I found me an apartment. So to my surprise, I actually got to live at my job for, I would say, about a month or maybe 2 months. And I was able to save up for my down payment and things of that nature. Originally, I was going to use my 401k because when I was in Alabama, I was working a full-time job as a case manager as well as a part-time job. And I was told that I would get my money from my 401k within a week or 2. And I ended up not getting it. So that's where the $2,500 come into play because I had to take out a loan just so I could get my ticket and I could pay for like the hotel room for a couple of nights until I could find an apartment. And actually, when I was looking for an apartment, so as I was saying, when I was getting the apartment, I'll never forget, I ran into an issue where I was trying to get the money out of my account. And because it was a large sum of money that I had to pay, that of course the ATM wouldn't let me get it out. I wasn't familiar with New York, so I didn't know where like the Wells Fargo's were. And I just remember the broker who was helping the other young ladies, he was so rude because I was late. And to this day, I wish I would have just walked away and not even signed the lease. But I didn't want to let the other young ladies down who were also going to be signing the lease with me because I knew that the process was so hard. So I went ahead and did it. But that was probably like a terrible experience. I wish I would have stood up for myself a little bit more. And so the apartment that you're looking at now is another one of the apartments that I had looked at. Of course, I was going to just be signing a lease with a roommate, but I decided not to go with this apartment because when I was talking to my manager at work, she said that it's better to be on the west side of Harlem, if I'm not mistaken. She told me it's better to live on the west side of Harlem. I don't know. She said it was more safe. I don't know. I was still learning. So this is just what I was being told. But yes, so in hindsight, I wish I would have never allowed that gentleman to essentially kind of run over me. And something that I've always done is I've always lived as a minimalist because I knew that I was going to be living in a big city and I didn't want to have a lot of stuff to take with me. And so I think that it's important to just, in a sense, live below your means. Don't buy all this unnecessary stuff because if you have to move again, now you got to try to get a U-Haul and do all this extra stuff. And something else that I had to invest in was a Metro card. And that's essentially what you use to use the transit system in in New York. And the good part about me having the Metro card is, one, my job paid for 3 weeks and I had to pay for the last week. But if you ever just get the card, it costs about $2.75. And something that I learned is that it's free for you to like transfer. So like, let's say if you're on the train and you decide you want to transfer over to a bus, then you're still using that same $2.75. So I just tried to make sure I took steps so that I wasn't spending too much of money at once. And something else that I think is important, it's important to get to know people, because you never know when you're going to run into an emergency. For example, had my manager not told me what's the safest place to live, I would have went ahead and signed this lease because it was in Manhattan, and I assumed that it was in a safe area because it said Manhattan, when that wasn't necessarily the case, or at least that is what I was told.
What if I told you life is a beautiful moment, filled with all kinds of beautiful moments? There's a beautiful moment in everything.
This is the website that I used to find the apartment. This is the Metro card that I was telling you all about. This is the app that I used to get around New York. It told me when to get on and when to get off the train. It was very helpful. That's my sister when she came to visit me. It helped when the family came because I was there by myself. That's me on the train enjoying myself. That's me in my apartment when I was trying to cook. That's me out and about. It was a river down from my house that I got to walk around at just to get some sun. That's my mom on the Metro train when she came to visit me. That's my nephew when he came to visit me in New York. That's me taking pictures in the mirror in my apartment. That's me walking home from work. That's me at the Wendy Williams show round 2. I also tried to go to the Teen Mom show. I love that show. That's when my mom came and got me when I got ready to come back to Alabama. And the main thing, just have faith the size of a mustard seed. Thank you.